Have you ever stopped to consider the silent epidemic of mental health in the Black community? A question that might have never crossed your mind, yet it's a reality that's as real as the air we breathe, a crisis that's been hidden in plain sight for far too long. Mental health, a subject often shrouded in mystery and misconception, is a critical issue within the Black community. Despite the alarming rates of mental health disorders, it is widely observed that Black individuals are less likely to seek treatment. But why is this? Is it due to lack of awareness, stigma, or perhaps a combination of both? The reasons are as complex as the issue itself. In America alone, it's estimated that 1 in 5 adults experiences mental illness each year. And within the Black community, the rates are even higher. Anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, and other mental health conditions are common, yet often ignored and even dismissed as weakness, or simply a lack of willpower. Yet the real weakness lies not in the individuals battling these disorders, but in a system that fails to provide adequate resources, and a society that fails to understand or acknowledge the depth of the problem. Despite the high prevalence of mental health issues, Black individuals are less likely to receive help. They are less likely to have access to mental health services, less likely to seek out treatment, and more likely to receive poor quality care when they do. Stigma, too, plays a significant role. Mental health is often a taboo subject within the Black community, where strength and resilience are highly valued. Admitting to a struggle with mental health can feel like admitting to a weakness, a vulnerability that goes against these deeply ingrained cultural values. This is the hidden crisis, the silent epidemic, an issue that affects countless individuals, families, and communities, an issue that demands our attention, our understanding, and most importantly, our action. It's a crisis hidden in plain sight, a silent epidemic that we must confront. And confront it we will, because every life matters, every mind matters, and the time to act is now. So why are we, as a community, hesitant to seek help for our mental well-being? That's a question that needs a little unpacking. When it comes to mental health treatment, there are 3 main barriers that often stand in our way: stigma, lack of resources, and lack of culturally competent care. Let's start with stigma. Mental health issues are often seen as a sign of weakness or something to be ashamed of. This perception can create a heavy burden, making it difficult for individuals to reach out for the help they need. But let's be clear here, there's no shame in seeking help. Mental health issues are just as real and deserving of care as physical health issues. Next, we have the lack of resources. It's no secret that mental health care can be expensive and hard to access. This is particularly true for communities that are economically disadvantaged. There might be a lack of mental health professionals in the area, or the cost of treatment might be too high. However, there are organizations and initiatives out there working to make mental health care more accessible and affordable. It's about knowing where to look and not being afraid to ask for help. Finally, there's the issue of culturally competent care. Now, this is a big one. Many mental health professionals may not fully understand the unique experiences and pressures faced by individuals in the Black community. This can make it hard for these individuals to feel understood and to get the care they need. But there's hope. More and more professionals are recognizing the need for culturally competent care and are working to provide it. So how can we overcome these barriers? It starts with conversations like this one. By talking openly about mental health, we can begin to break down the stigma. By educating ourselves about the resources available, we can make mental health care more accessible. And by demanding culturally competent care, we can ensure that everyone gets the treatment they deserve. Knowledge is power, and understanding these barriers is the first step to breaking them down. How exactly does systemic racism and discrimination affect our mental health? Now, there's a question that needs our attention. Racism and discrimination in their many forms are like invisible toxins in the air we breathe. They are subtle, often unseen, but their impact is real and pervasive. They create an environment of chronic stress, a constant gnawing pressure that can lead to a multitude of mental health issues, including anxiety and depression. Imagine going through your day, every day, with a weight on your shoulders, a weight that makes everything just a little bit harder, a little bit more exhausting. That's what systemic racism and discrimination do. They add an extra layer of difficulty to daily life, a hurdle that those unaffected may not even realize exists. Moreover, the impact of racism and discrimination is not just about individual incidents, but the cumulative effect over time. It's a constant drip, 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 slowly eroding a person's mental well-being. The effects can be particularly harmful for children and young people who are still developing their sense of self and place in the world. But here's the thing, systemic racism and discrimination are not natural disasters. They are man-made, perpetuated by societal structures and attitudes, and that means they can be changed. It's not just about treating the symptoms, but addressing the root cause. To truly tackle the mental health impact of racism and discrimination, we need to push for societal change. We need to challenge and change the systems and attitudes that allow these harmful forces to persist. This includes everything from education and healthcare to employment and criminal justice. We need to foster an environment where everyone, regardless of their race or background, can thrive without the added burden of systemic racism and discrimination. Only then can we start to heal the wounds and alleviate the mental health issues that these forces have inflicted on our communities. The effects of racism and discrimination on mental health are real and profound. It's a societal issue that needs societal solutions. Let's work together to address this, not just for the sake of our mental health, but for the health of our society as a whole. How can we cultivate resilience in the face of these challenges? Resilience, my friends, is the ability to bounce back from adversity, to keep standing tall, even when life's winds are blowing hard. But how do we cultivate this resilience, particularly in the context of mental health? Well, there are a few key strategies that we can all incorporate into our lives. The first strategy is seeking social support. We are social creatures by nature, and we thrive when we are surrounded by love and support. So don't hesitate to reach out to your family or friends when you're feeling low. Join a community group or engage in activities that bring you joy and foster a sense of belonging. Remember, it's okay to lean on others when you need to. No one is expected to navigate life's challenges alone. Next, we have the practice of self-care. This isn't just about bubble baths and scented candles, though those can certainly be part of it. Self-care is about taking care of your physical, mental, and emotional health. It's about eating well, exercising regularly, getting enough sleep, and taking time to relax and recharge. It's about acknowledging your feelings and giving yourself permission to feel them without judgment. Finally, we have the importance of advocating for mental health resources within the community. This can mean many things, from pushing for more accessible and affordable mental health services, to educating others about mental health issues, to fighting against the stigma that often surrounds these issues. Every one of us can play a part in making mental health a community priority. These strategies are just a starting point, of course. Cultivating resilience is a lifelong journey, and what works for one person may not work for another. It's all about finding what works for you and being patient with yourself as you navigate this path. Resilience isn't just about surviving, it's about thriving despite the odds. So, let's start thriving, shall we? What actions can we take to improve mental health in the Black community? This is the question we should all be asking ourselves as we strive towards a healthier, stronger society. First and foremost, we must focus on advocacy. Advocacy is the bedrock of change. It's about using our voices, our influence, and our resources to fight for better mental health services and policies. It's about standing up for those who are struggling in silence and making sure their stories are heard. Advocacy is about challenging the status quo and demanding more for our communities, but advocacy alone isn't enough. We also need to prioritize education. Mental health literacy is crucial. We must educate ourselves and others about the signs and symptoms of mental health issues. Understanding what depression looks like, what anxiety feels like, and how trauma can manifest can help us recognize when someone is struggling and needs help. Education can also combat stigma, breaking down the barriers that prevent people from seeking help. And let's not forget the power of community support. There's an African proverb that says, "It takes a village to raise a child." The same holds true for nurturing mental health. We need to create safe spaces where people can share their stories, seek support, and find solace. Community support can provide a lifeline for those grappling with mental health issues. There are numerous organizations and resources dedicated to improving mental health in the Black community. Groups like the National Alliance on Mental Illness, the Black Emotional and Mental Health Collective, and the Boris Lawrence Henson Foundation are working tirelessly to provide support, resources, and advocacy. Together, we can shed light on this silent epidemic and promote mental health in the Black community. Remember, it's okay not to be okay. And seeking help is a sign of strength, not weakness. Let's stand together, learn together, and heal together. Because when one of us rises, we all rise.